VHS is a found footage horror anthology film that came out in 2012. It's a series of short found footage pieces interconnected with a framing device of a few characters finding these tapes and watching them. It got mixed reviews on its initial release, but did well enough that it quickly spawned a total of 3 sequels, with the most recent one coming out just last year. It's proven itself to be a very solid format. The film featured shorts by now successful genre directors early in their careers, like Ty West, David Bruckner, and the Radio Silence team. Combining found footage with the VHS tape aesthetic really makes a lot of sense to me. It just seems like the styles go hand in hand. I think a lot of horror fans, at least the ones in my age group, have a ton of memories of renting tapes from their old local video stores. I know I do. Even though I grew up as more of a chicken, I still remember seeing stuff like the Predator movies and Alien because I was a sci-fi fan, and then that was like a gateway into the horror genre for me. Now, I've never seen any of the VHS films before. Found footage is not really my thing, but after a recent big thumbs up from a good friend of mine, hi Matt, I've decided to give them a shot. And since I'm going to be watching them anyways, I might as well watch them all and make some video out of it, you know? What else are we doing here? So we're going to find out together if I come out the other end of this feeling positively or negatively towards the franchise as a whole. That could be fun, right? Let's do this. Alright, time to start this video the way I start every video on this channel, by watching the first VHS movie for the first time. Okay, seriously now. The movie really pulled off its concept. I like that the multiple stories really felt like these assholes with cameras were authentic and real, because we all know douchebags like this. We've all met them in our life, especially that era of white guys. That idiot gang in the framing device thinking it's a good idea to film their crimes, and those douches who think that they can trick drunk girls into being in their amateur pornos. It really does feel like the authentic world created when it became really easy to get home cameras. I don't like that dudes like this exist, but I think the film portrayed them extremely well and honestly. And let's be honest, it's great to see assholes get murdered. I was also genuinely surprised a few times. I didn't think the short Tuesday the 17th was going to work at first, but not only did it deliver on its premise, but it successfully subverted slasher character tropes while doing so. Seriously, the one guy talking a big game about having sex, and then when the opportunity comes up, but it's being filmed, he gets all shy and uncomfortable, was a really nice touch that wasn't needed, but absolutely was, if you get what I'm saying. It's not all positives though, because while I did like Second Honeymoon, I left that short wanting more. It doesn't help that I recently saw Ty West's The House of the Devil for the first time, and I really appreciate what he's been doing as a director. So this felt a little weak because I know what he's capable of. At least it was better than the short directed by Joe Swanberg called, I'm not checking my phone for notes, no, definitely not, The Sick Thing That Happened to Emily When She Was Younger. I found it to be more of a clever short than anything else. I don't think it was executed that well, but director Joe Swanberg isn't a horror guy. This is pretty much his only directorial project in the genre, and I've seen some of his other work and he's talented, so this just was a miss for him as a creator. I also think that if they cut this one out, it would have improved the pacing, because overall I think the film felt a bit long. Overall, it really works. It ends well with 10/31/98, a fairly tense but not overly done so piece that really lends itself to found footage as a medium. So that way, when you're done watching, that's the one that sort of sticks in your head. I think that was a good move. I liked it overall, and I feel like watching these shorts, I really understood that there's a reason why so many of these writers and directors have gone on to be successful in the genre, because even with low budgets and just a short amount of time, they're really able to pump out creative and successful work. Some a bit more derivative than others, but overall solid. And I'm honestly looking forward to the next one, which we're going to check out right now. I gotta say, I think this one's even better than the first. VHS 2 really took the groundwork that the first one laid down and really built on top of it. It went down from 5 shorts to 4, something that I think works better pacing-wise, both in terms of length going down from 2 hours to about an hour and a half, but also like it feels more brisk, nothing drags for too long this way. So much better. I also think the shorts have just improved. I found that the shorts were overall less raunchy than in the first one, in part because it's not following so many douche bro assholes than in the first. And again, I'm not against those kinds of characters. I love seeing them get what they deserve, but it's nice to have so much more going on than just that, which we got a lot in the first. And you want variety in your anthology series. Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett, the only returning creators from the first film, have really shown that they have evolved as creators from those shorts to now, or to then. Wingard's short, Phase 1 Clinical Trial, is creative and extremely well done on a technical level, and Barrett, who makes his directing debut here after writing Wingard's Framing Device and Swanberg's short from the first. He does the framing device in this one, and it's a lot more story and a lot better and much more compelling characters. Great upgrade. Aside from that, all the filmmakers do a really solid job. My personal least favorite was the alien abduction one. I felt it ran a bit long for my tastes, but it also has a dog, so it's the best one. A Ride in the Park, made by two of the creators behind the original Blair Witch Project, you know, the grandfather of all found footage horror, really made something fun with this. The idea of a zombie with a GoPro strapped to its head plays out equally tense and funny, and really just shows what you can do with the medium. The whole thing's shot in the day, bright, sunny, and it still works. And that is always a good thing in horror when, oh wow, it looks good in the sunlight. Ooh yeah. My favorite here though is Safe Haven. Set in an Indonesian cult, it's really tense all the way through. Even when it gets into the more spectacle stuff, it keeps ratcheting up. It's really well made. It really does a lot of the stuff that I like in my horror. It's got creepy cults, satanic bullshit, you know, character drama. Hells yeah. And overall, these shorts are exactly what I want out of short films. Concepts that, if you stretch them to a feature-length runtime, wouldn't work because you'd run out of steam. There aren't enough good ideas for a whole movie. But when you compact it into a short form, you can keep it going with a brisk pace and never really leaving the audience bored. It was fantastic. Honestly, after this one, I'm even more hyped for this franchise now. I hope that they can keep going like this, because we're 2 for 2 and they're on upswing. Viral is a bad movie. Alright, I got a haircut, and now I'm worried I have to reframe my shot for it. Okay, seriously, after the second movie, VHS Viral is such a letdown. It only had 3 shorts and the framing device, but it still dragged more than the first one, despite being only an hour and 20 minutes, so I think that says everything that needs to be said. But I'm still gonna say more. So I'll start with what I like. Parallel Monsters is a lot of fun. It sort of takes its concept and cranks it up to an almost absurdist level. It's a lot of fun because are you laughing? Are you creeped out? You're both. A lot of fun. Plus, the guy playing Alfonso, gem. His excitement at the beginning, so believable, so cute. He was great. And that's what I liked.
Thank you, weird man.
The other 2 shorts both had fun ideas, specifically in how they were telling the story, but I don't think either of them worked. I found Bone Storm to lack believability. Whereas in previous ones, when characters are part of like a subculture, they felt genuine to it. These people didn't feel like real douchey skater kids, which are the kind of kids I grew up with in high school. So they weren't douchey, but you know what I'm saying. With that lack of groundedness, for me, nothing felt real, so the horror didn't land because it's not believable. That being said, the makeup and special effects in it were pretty good. I'm going to give the film that. It succeeded on a technical level, but I don't think this segment was very good as a piece. That's warm now. Then we have Dante the Great, and honestly, I feel like this one was one of the worst segments in this entire franchise. I like the idea that they were going for a mockumentary instead of just, oh, we found the tapes of him being weird, and it works because he has this celebrity status to it, but it was never done in any way that built tension. It just felt very flat for most of its runtime. A runtime that was way too long, by the way. And then its climax is trying to do something a little bigger and more epic, but it doesn't fit the style that they're shooting in. There were too many cuts and different angles for it to be filmed by the documentary people who are still, for some reason, there filming. But on the other hand, it's not well done enough to feel epic and be like, wow, these are great shots. Like, it's trying to be a little, I don't want to say blockbustery, but it kind of wants to be a little bit of a big, bombastic thing, but it's not succeeding in that at all. And honestly, it didn't even feel like a horror short. And while I think that was the worst part of this movie, I think the most disappointing part for me was the framing device. It abandoned the finding tape concept that we've had in the franchise, it's VHS, and instead goes for this metaphor, viral, with it's a truck driving around and it's causing people to do crazy things and, it's spreading virally. It's a metaphor that I don't think actually works. It's a concept more than it is an end product that I think lands. And it betrays what the franchise is, or at least how I view it. Honestly, the quality of this movie is what, in my head, VHS, the franchise, was as a whole. And it's really disappointing because this one was billed as, and for a long time, the last of a trilogy of sorts. So I'm really hoping that the next one makes up for it because, like I said, this one was really disappointing. Okay. So VHS 94 saved this one. And I shouldn't be surprised. This is the one that my friend actually said was good and was in his top 10 movies from last year. Hi, Matt. Yeah, I've used that. I'm not going to film it again. That's fine. All across the board, every one of these segments was a strong, well-made short. Like, The Terror is probably the one I would call the worst one, but only in comparison to the others that I preferred. And even then, it had a great aesthetic to it. Like, the vibes were just so natural in its presentation. There is really strong visual effects throughout the entire film, especially their practical effects. My favorites are the creature design in Storm Drain. That's really good, and that's right up my alley. And of course, the insane work throughout all of The Subject, which is really like the crowning achievement of this film. I think it's the best one overall. The mad scientist storyline was great, and I really appreciate, amongst all the great things that it's doing, is how well it managed its pacing and how they constantly switched POVs so that way everything felt like it kept moving and there was always something going on of interest on camera without necessarily just following one aspect the entire way through. It was an ingenious balance of everything. Even the framing device felt really fresh here. And I think that comes in part from the one in Viral being so lackluster, but I really liked the way it, again, was tying back into the concepts of the tapes or the footage of the other segments, while still working its way to build a bigger, grander story than prior ones. It was a nice balance. A little cheesy at times, but it was still fun. I'm not gonna knock on it for being a little cheesy. I like cheese. All in all, VHS 94 was a ride and a ride I was happy to go on. I'm glad this is the last film we're covering for this because we're getting to end on a high. Before we go, let's do some rankings. I think that could be fun. First off, I want to rank the films. So from my least favorite to my favorite, it goes Viral, the original, the second one, and then 94. For the framing devices, it's a little bit different. I'm going Viral, the first one, 94, the second one. And finally, I'm going to give you my top 5 favorite segments from the entire series. At number 5, The Empty Wake. At number 4, Amateur Night. At number 3, The Subject. At number 2, 10/31/98. And at number 1, Safe Haven, because it's the best. No discussions on that. And all in all, I had a lot of fun going through all these movies. It was worth the time. Sure, some segments or even whole movies can be lesser than others, but that's part of what an anthology is. It's not to give you every single thing perfectly what you wanted. It's to give you a tasting of things, see what you like, find some new filmmakers, and have a good time without being bogged down by excessively long storytelling. This also got me to come around a bit on found footage. It's a genre or aesthetic that I'm not usually a fan of, but in this case, I think it really worked and showed off how many filmmakers can really pack a lot of ideas into that format. I've also got to throw out how fond I've become of the VHS aesthetic that they're using in this. It's not true tape aesthetic, but there is still something about it that is reminiscent of it in a way that really is nostalgic and really adds something to the tone and vibe of each individual short that they're making. Each one does it in their own way, and it's just really cool. I, as a kid of the 90s, really appreciated it. I read that they're thinking of making a few more of these. At least one more is in development. And I honestly think they should because, well, why not? VHS is an opportunity for both new and experienced filmmakers to take on certain aspects of filmmaking that maybe they're not used to using and allowing them to try to be as creative as they can within the guidelines. And that's something I'm a fan of. You know, if you're making something, it's not just what you do, it's what you don't do. So that's cool. I hope they keep making these. The last one came out on Shudder, and I think that's the perfect home for something like this, where the hardcore horror fans can really grip onto it. And since it's low-budget filmmaking, they don't have to worry about the costs of getting it into major theaters, which at this point is just populated by superhero movies. Seriously, I saw X the other day, and all the trailers before that horror thriller were just superhero movies that don't fit the vibe of a Ty West film. So yeah, I definitely want to see what comes next from the VHS franchise. If you like these films, if you don't, leave a comment below. I'd love to know what other people's favorite segments are. If you like the kind of videos I make, be sure to subscribe, hit the like, check out some of the other ones that'll be on screen. And until next time, have a good one.